Brand new comic book pickup day. Today is February 19th, 2020. So today we had some pretty decent key issues that dropped. Looked like several first appearances. One Batman comic that came out today that just blew everybody out of the water. And let's find out what I purchased this week. I bought quite a bit. Let's do this. Today was a big release for the new Wolverine #1 that came out with probably a dozen covers to it. Some hard to get variants. Every week I like to show at least one comic from my personal collection, and since this week is Wolverine #1, the only one that felt right to break out was this bad boy right here. That is in my personal collection. Hulk 181, graded 9.0 white pages. This is the most expensive comic I've ever purchased, and it's probably my favorite comic, maybe second favorite comic in my entire collection. So in honor of Wolverine #1 coming out today, had to break out this bad boy right here. Hulk 181, the first full appearance of Wolverine. So here we go, let's get this going. We're going to talk about, I went to a total of 2 comic book shops today. I went to a baseball card store and half-price books. So a pretty eventful day. A lot of new stuff. The first place was called Circle City Comics, which is based on West 86th Street in Indianapolis, Indiana. A newer comic book store. And I went there first to pick up a lot of just my common covers and to see what else they had that came out this week. So they are a fantastic shop, nice people, always great experiences in Circle City Comics, so huge shout out to those guys. So here's what we got actually. I'm going to show you first one I actually dug around in their backstock bins. I pulled out The Walking Dead #127 that I needed from a Walking Dead collection. The first appearance of Magna, I think it is. So this was just an extra pickup. Did not come out today. Came out a few years ago. But $10. It's a very, very clean copy. And I'm happy with it. So here we go. They had the variant cover for the brand new series called God Killers by Aftershock Comics. God Killers #1. I am mostly a collector, speculator, and collector of #1 comics and comics that have first appearances, cameo appearances, first full appearances, so any major deaths, any major tie-ins with anything. That's what I like collecting. That's what I like buying. So this was a brand new #1 that came out. This is the, I'm not sure if this is a 1 in 10 or 1 in 25 variant, but I picked it up for $15. God Killers. Next one I picked up was the new Wolverine #1. This is the one I told you about that literally has probably a dozen different covers that came out today for this comic. This one though is the 1 in 10, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, the 1 in 10 variant of the Wolverine cover. But for only $10 I had to pick it up because I think that's a very good price on this book. Wolverine #1, the first of many that I picked up of this issue. Next I picked up was Aquaman #57, which is the common cover and then the variant cover. Both covers are pretty much the same scarcity, but this is actually the birth of Aquaman and Mara's child. So since this is a birth, that's kind of things I like picking up, you know, major happenings in comic books. So I went ahead and picked up 2 Aquamans, same comic, different covers. The birth of Aquaman's child, so that was a must cop in my opinion. Next was a brand new series, Plunge #1. This has to do with a supernatural type of vibe in this comic. And this occurs in the Arctic around the events of The Thing, if I remember correctly. So it's a brand new comic. It's a #1. Next, I just picked up 1 copy. This is Jane Foster Valkyrie, #8. I also was a really big fan of the cover with Thor on the cover there. I thought that was a pretty cool looking book. But this is the introduction of the Rokva, a contagion of death from the Asgardian legend. Since this has an introduction, I went ahead and picked it up, and I thought it was actually a pretty cool cover. Only got 1 copy of it. Was this a good investment book? Honestly, probably not. Only pick it up if you're a fan of Valkyrie, Thor, Asgard, Jane Foster. Or like me, you like comics that have a new introduction or something like that. Next one I picked up was the new Marvel Action Classics Avengers #1, starring Doctor Strange. This honestly has no first appearances. As far as I know, has nothing monumental happens in this comic. I just picked it up because I thought the cover was really cool, and I love Doctor Strange. So this isn't really an investment book. This is more of, you're a fan of the Avengers, you're a fan of Marvel, you're a fan of Doctor Strange, you're a fan of the art. So I picked up one. That's all I got. Honestly, just because I really like the cover of it. This next comic I picked up, and I actually didn't know anything about this until I actually got to the comic book store and I saw these. They had, I think, a total of 3 or 4 covers. These 2 were the variant edition covers. That was 1 per customer for each cover. So since there was a 1 per customer, I didn't really know much about this. So I actually had to research this in the comic book shop. What is this comic book, Marvel's Voices? What I found out is Marvel's Voices is actually, it is a podcast series that's made its way into a comic book. And it is a one-shot of brand new adventures that came out today. Is this going to be any kind of a speculation book down the road? I really have no idea. I don't even know what the Marvel's Voices podcast is. I've never heard of it. But with it being a number 1 and they had it limited to 1 per customer, I said, you know, I might as well pick it up. It won't hurt. So I got 1 of each. Next one I got Bang number 1. This is actually has already been picked up and is in development for a TV show right now. So as a number 1, and it's already being developed to a show, this was a must buy. This is the common cover that they had, and this is a variant cover that they had. The variant cover is actually going for quite a bit more than the common cover. They did have it at 1 per customer for each cover. I got 1 of each because you really should buy a comic, a number 1, when it's already being developed into a TV show. It's kind of like a no-brainer there. Could the TV show be dropped? Yes, 100%. But whenever it's been optioned, go ahead, pick it up. It won't hurt anything. This next one, I still don't know much about it. This is called a company called Vault Lines. The Plot number 1. They only had literally 5 or 6 copies of this book. That's all they ordered. This is must be a much smaller independent label. And it was labeled as 1 per customer for this comic. And this was not on my radar at all, but the cover of this comic made it look more like a horror comic. And I'm a really big fan of the horror genre. So if this cover, a smaller company, one per customer limit, and they only had 5 or 6 of them, that's all they had. That's all they ordered. I picked one up just as a pure speculation, as a prospect, because I actually need to do more research about this and find out what exactly this one is, because I don't know right now. Should I have researched before this video? Probably. But you know what? Hindsight's 20/20. Next one I had to pick up. It is titled The Savage Bastards. This is a number 1 brand new comic made by Mad Cave. And the little introduction to this comic really had me intrigued. What it says about this comic, it is set in 1873. 2 half-brothers fight their way through a series of desert towns to save their mother from their sadistic father and his bastard sons. So it sounds like an interesting comic. Like, whenever I heard about this, I thought, you know what, this kind of sounds like the basis for a Netflix show, a Netflix series, Netflix movie. So I said, let me pick up one, because it could be kind of a funny comic. So Sadistic Bastards, just picked up 1. And if I go back next week, there's some left, I might pick up another copy just because. We'll see. But that's all the prospecting part of comics. Sometimes you don't know if you should buy 1, 2, 3, 8. And sometimes like that, I just pick up 1 just because I don't want to go heavy into a certain book without any certainty that it's going to be more in value in the future. Nothing has guaranteed value. All these comics I just purchased, you know, for $4 or $5 a piece, might only be worth a quarter in the future. That's all the gamble speculation game. So some people collect for value, some people collect for speculation, some people collect to read, some people collect for the art. Whatever you collect for, it doesn't matter. You do and collect how you want to do it. Next, I got, what is this? Canopus? I'm not even sure if I'm even pronouncing that correctly. This is a brand new series. It is number 1 by Scout Comics. This has to do with space where a woman is stuck on an alien planet. Kind of intriguing, but is this going to be any kind of huge speculation book? Probably not. The comic book shop I went to, they had a whole stack of them. Nobody was buying them, it seemed like. So I only got 1 of them, but it's a number 1, and I kind of collect number 1 of new issues, of new runs of comics. So I got 1 issue. And then next, I went heavy and got 3 of the different Wolverine number 1 covers, because it's kind of like Wolverine Day today. So actually my favorite cover of all of the Wolverines, including the variants, the hard to find covers, is this cover right here. This just has, it's kind of awesome. This was the best cover that they made in my personal opinion. This one also is extremely cool. I like this one also with the X-Men with the Wolverine claws down the cover. This one, they probably had, no joke, 30 of them. They had mostly a lot of this cover. This is probably going to be the more popular cover just because how it looks. But in my opinion, this one is the best art on it. And then I also got this cover, which I thought was kind of a funny looking cover. Very different. Didn't really make a whole lot of sense. It kind of looks like a kitty kind of a cover, but I kind of liked it. And I went heavy on the Wolverine #1 this week. Should I have? Probably not, but that's okay. Also, while I was at Circle City Comics, I actually picked up a Spawn #300 graded CGC 9.8. They were asking $60 for it. I offered them $50. They accepted it. This is one of the most iconic covers of all time for Amazing Spider-Man #300, drawn by Todd McFarlane, and then he is also the creator of Spawn. So for the Spawn 300, he recreated the Amazing Spider-Man 300 iconic cover, and I think this is a good book to invest a 9.8 in for $50. I picked up, they had it in their glass case, and I said, give it to me for $50, and I got it. So at Circle City Comics, I spent a total of $167 at the first stop. But you know what? We kept going. On to the next place. Next stop we went to was the Comic Carnival, which is located at 7225 North Keystone Avenue in Indianapolis, Indiana. Once again, another fantastic shop. A lot of very nice employees. Shop is well run, well organized, easy to shop, and easy to spend a lot of money in there. So huge shout out to Comic Carnival once again for selling me some of the comics I've been looking for. So here we go. First one I picked up is On the Stump. Is a brand new series that is based around politicians that kind of like do like a Fight Club thing in order to gain their power. Weird concept. Very cool cover. This had, I think, 2 separate covers. I just got one of them. This the more cool cover, I thought. So I picked this up just because it is a #1. It's a brand new run of comics, and it's by Image. Good company. This is no speculation. This is Cobra Kai #3. I'm actually collecting the whole run of Cobra Kai because I've always been a fan of the Karate Kid. I always thought that Johnny Lawrence was actually the hero who was made out to be the villain. I always thought Daniel LaRusso honestly was more of the villain in Karate Kid than Johnny Lawrence. If you know the backstory and if you watch what they both did, Johnny Lawrence, he wasn't the villain. He wasn't the villain. He was misunderstood and portrayed for what he actually was not. And the new TV show on YouTube TV, Cobra Kai, it actually explains Johnny Lawrence's story more in depth, which kind of shows people that, yeah, Johnny Lawrence was never the bully. He was never the perpetrator. Daniel LaRusso kind of had a hand in a lot of things. So anyway, since I've always been a fan of the TV movie Karate Kid, I'm collecting the entire run of Cobra Kai. Just because it probably won't have much future value. I'm just buying it just because. Next one I think is probably one of the coolest covers we've had so far in 2020. This is Captain Marvel #15, which is the first cover appearance of Vox Supreme. Will this have a lot of future value to it? Honestly, probably not. But this cover on this thing is insane. I really like the artwork. I like how it just looks incredible. This is the kind of comic book covers that we need to see more of. Work like this. So if you're a fan of comic book art, this is one you need to pick up. Next, I actually bought Red Mother #3. I'm actually collecting this entire series. I went very, very heavy on Red Mother #1. I purchased probably a dozen different covers, mostly the harder to get variants, because I honestly think I could see this being made into a TV show in the future or like a Netflix series. I just finished reading Red Mother #3 before I started shooting this video, and it's actually a very good book. It leaves you wanting more. It keeps you intrigued the whole time, and the series is progressing very nicely. I'm excited for the next issue, #4, to come out next month. If you haven't read Red Mother, I would honestly pick it up. Most comic book shops still have the first 3 on their shelves. The harder to get variants are probably long gone, but you can still pick it up. And I'm actually trying to get the entire run of Red Mother. So I have 1 through the very last issue. That's what I want. I'm collecting this as a series because I actually enjoy reading the comic. And I do honestly see a future option for a possible TV show. And I also picked up just the variant cover of Red Mother #3. Next one I picked up, Daredevil #18. This has no first appearance, nothing iconic. I bought this purely because the cover of this thing is freaking incredible. Just like the newest Captain Marvel, this cover drew me in. As I was walking down the racks looking at the new comics, I saw this. And And I was like, I don't care that it doesn't have any first appearances in it. I don't care that it's not like a monumental issue. Like, I had to pick that up purely 100% on the art of the cover. Next one, we got God Killers #1. In the first comic shop we went to, you saw me pick up the common, or the variant cover, like the 1 in 10, 1 in 25 cover. This is just the common cover. I picked it up at Carnival, and very cool cover. And I'm actually going to break this out. I'm actually going to read this because I'm kind of intrigues me to see what this is really about. Next, this actually wasn't on my radar at all. This is Death to Army of Darkness #1, a brand new comic coming out that features Bruce Campbell as Ash. And this wasn't on my radar. I didn't know he was even coming out, but Carnival had one copy of the harder to get variant. This is probably like a 1 in 10 or 1 in 25 variant. They had it for $10. I thought it was kind of a cool cover, and I went ahead and picked it up. I don't really know if that was a wise purchase or not, but it's a harder to get variant. It's Ash from the Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, so I don't know. This might have been a bad purchase, but I just went ahead, took the gamble, picked it up. These next three I picked up, I went heavy on. I told you I bought quite a few of the new Wolverine #1. Carnival had some of the very limited, the harder to get cover variants, and I got all three of them that they had. The first one I picked up is just the Wolverine, which is the base, the common cover, but this is the variant with a lighter shade on the bottom. This was limited to only 2 per comic book store. Each store got 2 of this variant. They had it for $15. I picked it up. I was more than happy to pay $15 for it. This one is actually called the Wolverine #1, the 1 per store party draft variant. There is a cover where he looks like this, but there is none of the party stuff. There's none of the writing. It's just Wolverine that looks like this in the cover. That's just a common variant cover. This is a 1 per store variant. They had it for $25. I was more happy to pay that. That's the going rate for this comic book on eBay. And this cover, the condition is very, very, very good. And I'm happy to pick this one up because I was going to get it anyway on eBay. I'd much rather support my local comic book stores and buy it from them instead. Next one I was very happy that they had. The first store I went to didn't have this one. They didn't get it. This one had it. This is a 1 in 50 variant. Your comic book stores aren't even guaranteed to even get this cover. It's a 1 in 50. They had it there for $35. I think that's a pretty fair price for this. That's pretty much close to about the going rate for this comic book, between like $25 to $35. You know, it includes shipping or not. But I'd much rather buy it from my local comic book store, support small businesses locally, and buy it from them. And I was able to see condition first, and condition on this thing is very, very good. I'm happy with this. So I was very happy that Carnival in Indianapolis had 3 of the harder to get Wolverine variants for very, very good, fair prices. So I picked up all those 3. So that's what I picked up at Carnival in Indianapolis. Only one I couldn't get this week was Batman #89. It was sold out at every store I went to. Carnival, whenever I got there, I actually got there before they opened up. They only had 4 issues on the shelf. They all got part of people's pull list. I was probably number 10 in line, so I missed out at Carnival because I didn't get there quick enough, but that's okay. And then at Circle City Comics, they only had a couple on the shelf this morning, and I missed those too. So Batman #89, if you're looking for a possible good investment book, I picked that one up. I missed it, but I will end up getting it down the line. It has 2 first cameo appearances in that book. That is the only comic this week I wasn't able to purchase, but I will pick it up as time goes on. Next, I went to Half Price Books. Sometimes I like to stop by Half Price Books just to dig through a lot of their comic books, because you can actually find some gems in there sometimes, because they don't actively go through their bins and bins of comic books, you know, trying to pull out ones that have gone up in value because of spikes, because of comics being optioned or other variables. So I stopped by one on 86th Street in Indianapolis, and I dug through quite a few, and I always go through The Walking Dead because I'm always looking for some of the key issues from The Walking Dead. And these 2 are in fantastic condition. This one is Walking Dead number 167. This is the death of Andrea in the comic books. Got it for $1.50. And then this one is actually an Air comic, but they're all Airs though. In the comic, Rick actually loses his hand in the comic. In the TV show, he did not, but in the comic, he lost his hand. And in this, issue number 185. There is an error on one of the pages where the artist drew him with 2 hands, not just one. So it's kind of it's a mistake in the story. They had it there for only $2. I picked up this one. So that's what I got at Half Price Books. The last place I went to, this was like a excursion of a day going from comic book store to comic book store, Half Price Books. Then I went to the local sports card shop that I haven't been to in a few years. So I actually want to, from time to time on this channel, open up boxes of sports cards or entertainment cards, you know, kind of like a form of mystery boxes. So I stopped by there because right now there's a lot of hype in the NBA with the newest rookie crop. So I stopped by there, which is, the place is called Indy Card Exchange. It's right off of 86 and Westfield on the north side of Indianapolis. And I picked up the brand new 2019-2020 Donruss basketball. So I actually will be opening this thing up on this channel here in the near future and see if I get anything good out of this box. Hopefully I do. So that was the expensive day out shopping, buying collectibles, investing, getting content to create some videos. So hopefully you enjoyed this. I will once again go out next week and hunt down the newest comic books, and hopefully I get everything I want. So I'll see you again next week with some more comics. I'm out.